What up, y'all? New media, Lamar King Sr., Mr. Be Great Today, Kings Insight, bringing you another true story. So, this story starts in the little town of Milledgeville, Georgia. If you guys have been following the channel, heard many tales and many stories about my upbringing in this little rural old capital city located right in the heart of the state. So before we get started, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button, follow, leave a comment, like, and share this. It does wonders for the channel, and I thank you guys in advance. So, Milledgeville, Georgia, of course, where I was born and raised, and this story is how it brings into tale about how me and a couple of my friends were almost lynched by the KKK. Let me give you some backstory and some disclaimers before we get into this episode to kind of bring this thing all together. So, for starters, the KKK during this time is not the KKK of what you're probably envisioning in your mind. I mean, in this town, there were no white sheets. They were not riding in on horses. There were no burning crosses. There were no people, hanging from trees in my hometown. Not during this period of time. Not to say it never happened. And to give you guys some backstory, Milledgeville is a 50-50 split demographic when it comes down to racial and ethnicity. So it was pretty even when it came down to the demographic makeup of the city. And there were certain facets of the city, I would say, tied more to Milledgeville roots. Many people look at as heritage, and many people look at as blatant racism. Now that's a gray area in many places in this country, and definitely a big gray area in my hometown of Milledgeville, Georgia, because you have one group of people who feel like Civil War and this time is a time of rich heritage and culture and history that they should be proud of, and I guess if we're going to go by the constitutions and the bylaws of this land, they do have every right to do so. But then on the other hand, you have people within my community, the black community, the African American community, who may feel a certain type of way when it comes down to that time period in history. So in Milledgeville, you got this big divide. Again, it's not like it's lunch counter sit-in type stuff that I never seen, but it was almost like you knew the racial makeup of the city, and the racial divide in the city was subtle but very loud. It was one of those things that went unspoken about, but it was common knowledge, to the point where, depending on where you went to school, even within the school, what classes you were in, all these things, racial makeup of the city was pretty divided, and a lot of times and these topics don't like to be talked about, but it happened. I can recall even being in school and coming up in school, and especially as I got older and older in school, the number of white kids in my class began to decrease significantly. Milledgeville has one high school, public high school, but it had two private high schools, or schools, should I say, K through 12. John Miller's Academy and GMC, Georgia Military College. And in my day, those schools were pretty much all white, even up into the 90s, late 90s. You had black people there. I'm not saying they didn't have them, but it was, oh man, I guarantee you, John Miller's was probably 90% white. GMC was probably somewhere along those same numbers. And so as kids got older, and I guess, I don't know if ideologies are being passed on, I don't know what the case may be, but you slowly but surely you start seeing less and less white people in your class in my hometown. So the racial divide was there. And like I say, even in school, I recall there would be classes where they would put them in the so-called gifted program. But, characteristically, those gifted programs usually consisted of all white kids. You had a few black kids in there, but in my day, the gifted program was pretty much all white, right? And I'm just building this backstory so I can give you an idea of how racial disparities or the racial divide brought on this story and brought on this incident. Basically, the ideologies of young black males and young white males started to bleed over into other generations. And there's one particular family who stayed on Main Street. And you guys are familiar with Milledgeville. You guys are listeners. You're from Milledgeville. Main Street and Lockwood Drive. Right on that corner, there was this family. I don't know if they were either the Kitchens, the McCants. That's I know the McCants and the McKitchens stay there. They hung there. They frequently there. I could definitely the Kitchens. Because one of the guys, David Kitchens, he was a classmate of mine, and he had a brother, T.J. Kitchens. They had friends. They had another guy, Michael McCant. These were real deal hard nosed white boys. On my real deal redneck white boys. And coming up throughout school, I met these guys probably elementary school, and all from elementary school to middle school, up into early high school, up until when this incident happened. I had probably several run-ins with the McCants and the Kitchens because we would ride our bike down Main Street, and oftentimes we would have, shouting matches, fight. It would be a lot of racial slurs being thrown around. It was a challenge dealing with, and they lived right. Like they stayed around nothing but black people, but they flew rebel flags, and it was a redneck hangout spot up there. I think they had a pool table over there, and as you ride by, you can see all kind of old, big lifted Ford Broncos and Ford trucks and Camaros with no goddamn tailpipes, loud as all that would flow. It was a real redneck scene that these kids grew up in because it was literally within walking distance of our elementary school. So it was often a lot of fights between us and the McCants and the Kitchens, and I'm pretty sure there was several other families in the community that had, altercations with this family, whether it was a lot of racial slurs, and it would go from the parents down to the kids, and it was always a back and forth between them because, like I say, these, rich, quote unquote, heritage, cultural, rebel flag flying white Americans who live, right in the center of, a black community essentially, and where they live is almost like where the black community and the white community met. Because when you go past the house, everything else was white, but everything on the other side, well, all the black, they were like right at the edge of the line, so to speak. So there was a lot of confrontations, altercations, incidents, whether they be in school, whether they be home, whether they be, anywhere. Whether at times we be, at the mall or Walmart, we see these guys and we have words, and we be, times. And let me tell you something about these guys, these Kitchens and these McCants, man, bro. These were not average white boys. These white boys were hard nosed, and they, when you think about it, that's like I say, by the time I got on up in school, there were very few white people in class or in our school or in class with you. And the ones that were, they wasn't, they didn't, it was the average white boy, the ones that you probably could, push around or, take advantage of. But these white boys were like that. Like these white boys, you're gonna have to fight. These white boys were hard nosed. These white boys were like real redneck. I'm talking about. They weren't the average white boy. I'm gonna just put it like that. Especially when you're talking about the hierarchy of, adolescent testosterone filled boys. These white boys were right up there with the, with the best of them for real. So, just building this up so you guys can kind of get an idea of who we're dealing with. And these guys, like I said, we dealt with them for years. So, as I, we started transitioning to, bigger school, going to middle school, junior high, high school. Of course, now you're starting to meet new friends and new people from different areas of the county that you necessarily didn't see because for the most part, Milledgeville doesn't have any public transportation. Milledgeville doesn't have a lot of, activities for, the kids outside of maybe the pool or maybe the rec department. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot going on for kids to kind of, meet new friends and network and interact with new people. So we did implement this new program. It was NYSP camp. And this was and it was a great camp. It was a free camp. And we go there for the summer, and you stay there probably from 7 o'clock in the morning to lunch. And you did all kind of sports. You took different sports, whether it's swimming, tennis, golf, basketball, volleyball. We did it all. It was just sports camp. Every day was a different sport we played. And it was pretty dope. And this is why I met a lot of new friends, like I say, from different pockets of the city or the county. Because again, Milledgeville is rural, But again, like any rural town, you do have the inner city of this rural town. And I guess I always stay in what you consider the city or within the city, or I did live in the county, but it was within the inner workings of the city or the municipality there in Milledgeville. And when you start going to these different camps and you start going to these bigger schools like the middle schools and the high school, you start meeting people way out of the county, what we call the country, where they stay way out. And I met two friends that met them, going to camp, going to middle school. It was thick as thieves, man. We did everything together. It was new for me because generally, man, I never really left Harrisburg. I generally, my friends were there. If we did go somewhere, we went together, but most of the time, and then within Harrisburg, when it was with my brothers or my friends within the community. Well, again, as I started venturing out, we started meeting new people going to bigger schools, NYSP camp, different things like that. I met my boy T Golf and D-Nas. So, and this one particular night, we had been friends, I would say maybe a year or two, because they used to come, because like I said, they stayed so far in the county. They would come to their grandmother's house, and then we would all go down there and meet up at his grandmother's house, spend the night there. So we were at his grandmother's house, and I'm like, hey man, let's go to Harrisburg. You know what I mean? So and pretty much I would introduce them to my friends, and they would introduce me. We had them, we started really interacting as adolescents, as teens. We couldn't have been no more than about 8th, 9th grade maybe. So we're probably like 13, 14 years old. And we go to Harrisburg, and of course we trying to trying to find the girls around there. We going to hang out with the fellas around there. We just having a full day, just hanging out in the hood, man. And of course we're young and we're inquiring minds, want to know and all these different things. And so we said, okay, we finna smoke some weed today. Now up until that point, I think I had smoked weed, but I really had never gotten high before. You're trying to figure out. Well, I would say I didn't know what the high was. So we finally, we of course, this is my old neighbor, this is my stomping ground. I know we can go get some weed, so we go find us a little bag of weed. Might buy us a little dime bag or a couple of nickel bags or whatever. And but we didn't know how to roll. Of course, I'm saying like we got the weed, but we don't know how to roll it. So we walking through the neighborhood, and I see some older cats, and they weren't too much older than us. They were a few years older than us, man. And two older guys I had been known since I was a little kid. Shane and Skid Row. Man, and Shane and Skid Row, you would have thought they were brothers. They was thick as thieves, man. Shane, and Skid, they were always together. I don't know. It seemed like they were tight. They were pretty much. They grew up in another little subsection of Harrisburg in OT Pound, and they were, man. I don't recall a time even coming up that you when you saw one, you didn't see the other. So we push up on Shane and Skid, and they were like, "What y'all young bucks out here, y'all here doing whatever." Like, shit, man, we just got a little weed, man. We don't know how to roll it. You know what I mean? They laughing at all young age. What the hell, y'all? They laughing, joking with us, talking shit, whatever. So they rolled the weed for us, right? So they rolled the weed. And I'll never forget, man, Skid Row, Mark Brazil, man. That boy had some long ass fingernails, bro. His fingernails were so motherfucking long, man. And clean like that motherfucker. Like I know because back then I always think nail shops was a thing in Milledgeville. So I don't know if he was doing this shit or a girl or somebody, but that nigga had some motherfucking long ass fingernails. But nonetheless, we rolled the weed, we sitting there smoking, and they kind of coaching us on how to, man, you gotta inhale it, you gotta hold it, you gotta do this. And of course, we back there, we smoking that shit, coughing, laughing, giggling. You know what I mean? We tripping out that motherfucker, man. And so we sit there for an hour or so. Maybe even I don't think we had no beer. Drinking was definitely not on the table at the time. We just smoking. So now it's getting kind of late. It's not too late. It's probably like maybe 11 o'clock, maybe even close to midnight. But we know we got to start heading back towards T-Dub and D-Nas to grandmama's house. But that's where we staying at. Now from Harrisburg to their grandmother house. It's not that far, but it's a nice little walk. It's probably we probably from where we were, because we was deep in Harrisburg, from there to where his grandmother stayed over near the Kona Heights. It's probably about a good 30 minute, maybe 45 minute walk. You know what I mean? From there, so we're walking. We're heading back that way because we want to get back before it's too late. Because we had grandma and granddad house. We came here, walk up in the little 2, 3 in the morning. Mind, we ain't but 12, 13, 14 years old. So we headed, um, we're heading back towards the Oconee Heights from Harrisburg. So we're going down. We stop at the Jet store down off 441, kind of like at the bottom down by 5th Street. And we go in there because now we got the munchies. We go get us some snacks and shit. And we heading on to the Kona Heights, which we're going through Central State grounds. So we're walking. And as we get up there by the church, right there at the hill, my boy, rest in peace, Ali Robson, stay on the corner right there. Across from the park, we get rid of about them apartments. There's some apartments right there. My boy T Butts them used to stay back in the day. And there's some apartments sit right across there. And across the street is some little duplexes. And as we're walking, I can see there's like a party going on. You can see cars on the road. You can see people standing out on the porch. You can hear music playing, and you can hear people talking and laughing, and it's a party. So, but where we are in this area, right there in this area, I already know where we are. Mind you, Tito and D Nasty, they from the county. They from way out in the county in the rural areas of the county. Now, not to say they didn't know where we was, they knew where we was, but I'm gonna say that they didn't know the demographic of the area, right? Because like I say, the McCants and the Kitchens, they stayed right on the edge of where the black and the whites, met. So we're walking, but they didn't live here. But again, we're still on, like, this is still one of those spots in that southeast or southwest side to where the black and white kind of separate. So as we're walking, and I see him, and I'm looking, and I reckon, because when I seen the party and I knowing the location, I already knew that there was white people at that party. You know what I mean? Now, this was not the Kitchens and McCants' house, original house, but I knew that where we were couldn't be number white people having that party, right? So as we're walking, and I think we're rapping, we're high, we're tripping, we're some 14-year-old kids, tripping off weed and eating motherfucking little Debbie's and shit, and we're rapping and shit. And so I guess we catch one of the guys' attention, and the guy looks, he comes over, he said, "Hey," and when he said, "Hey," I look, and when I look, and when I see who it was T.J. Kitchens. T.J. Kitchens, I had many run-ins with him. Not me personally, because T.J. was a little older than me, but my brothers, I knew him. I knew who T.J. Kitchens was, and I knew T.J. Kitchens did not like black people at all. You hear me? I'm talking about, it was well known. Anybody who went to, Baldwin Middle School or went to, Baldwin High School and knew T.J. Kitchens, whether you were black, white, Chinese, you knew T.J. Kitchens and Michael McCann. And everybody else who ran with them didn't really care for white black people. It's probably what it was, right? So when I see his T.J. Kitchens, now mind you, again, this is my first time high off weed. I'm 14 years old. I'm probably 85, 90 pounds soaking wet. T.J. Kitchens is probably 6'2", 250, big ass white boy, big motherfucker. That's what I'm telling you now. Them white boy, they one the average white boy now. I'm telling you now. So when I see him walking out in the road, and this motherfucker got a cask on his right hand, and he got a beer in one hand, and the cask in the other. So he walking. He said, "Hey man," and I see who it is. Man, I instantly pick up the pace a little bit. I like, "Hey man, y'all come on, man, let's keep going." No, man, come on, let's see what he want. Let's see, they having a party. We high. We 14, we high. And my boys, they don't know who the fuck they talking to, right? So me, I ain't get what's good to the shit. Me, I ain't finna stop and talk no motherfucking T.J. Kitchens at no 12 o'clock midnight on a dark ass road. Hell no. I said, man, y'all better come on. I kept walking. I kept walking. They back there talking to him or whatever, whatever, whatever. I'm still walking. So finally, they got them. They catch back up with me. You know what I mean? I done went a little ways down the road. I'm trying to get to this. I'm trying to get to the grandmama house. Cause now I know I done seen him, and I know if I seen TJ Kitchens, I know the rest of them ain't too far. I know they ain't. So I know they in the house. I know, and I know what type of people we dealing with. Right, I've been dealing with these folks all their life. These people flew rebel flag. Michael McCann came to school one time with a motherfucking cone on his head. To my, he was a dunce hat, and we all know it was a goddamn KKK. But get what? They let the motherfucker wear it. But anyway, nonetheless, I know these crackers. They ain't mean no good, right? So they finally catch back up to me. And they giving me hell. Oh man, you acting like a little bitch. Why the fuck you acting like a little bitch? Man, that's some fucking white boy. Them niggas ain't gonna do shit. You acting like this. I'm like, give me hell, talking shit, laughing at me and shit. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to explain to you niggas. I'm like, man, them white boys ain't what you want, man. That ain't what you want, bro. Oh man, why can't you just act like a little bitch? You scary as hell, man. Come on, let's go home for this nigga, goddamn. Pissing in clothes, saying little shit like that. So I'm walking, right? And I'm steady looking back, cause I know these motherfucking I know them. They done chased us so many times as kids on our bikes. Then most time we was on bike, but now we on feet. You know what I mean? Now we on feet. And these motherfuckers, so I'm like, man, slow down, man. I'm like, man, let's get the fuck to your grandmama house, man. Let's get the fuck out the road. Cause we gotta walk a long stretch of road. And ain't no, you know what I mean? It's just a stretch of road. We gotta get the fuck out this road. So as we walking, we probably about 20 feet from the little path where we can get to Brewster's. It's a club that you sit back there. I don't know if y'all guys know right there by the bottom, down the bottom side of the mountain. Brewster's Club, to Old Tomato spot. If we can get to that path, we good. But soon as we get to the goddamn where that road, where the Central State sign sit at on Swamp Avenue, right there before you get to the Chapel Hall Fade, we right there on that corner. And we're trying to cross the road to get to the path. You get over there, go toward Oconee Heights, get to your grandmama house. So as we get to the sign, this motherfucking big lifted F-150, probably a goddamn 78, 79 F-150 or F-100 pulls up. This motherfucker got about 10, 15 motherfuckers on the back, about 3, 4 motherfuckers in the front. Single cab truck. And that motherfucker, when I see him, Michael McCann is driving. TJ Kitchens is on the passenger side. They got like 2 girls in the middle, and then they got a bunch of goddamn white boys on the back. Hey, where y'all going this time of night? Y'all need a ride? My boy, they think, cause they laughed. The white boy laughed. My homeboy, yeah, man, come on, give us a ride, man. I said, man, come on, I'm steady walking. I ain't standing that shit. And that motherfucker said, and then TJ jumps out the truck. He gets out the front. He get out the passenger side. And he got that bill in his hand still. And you can see him walking with a motherfucking blue cast on his motherfucking hand. Right hand. And I'm a little ways from the truck. I'm not too far. My boy, they right up on. So he come around the front of the truck. He get out the passenger side door. He walk around the front of the truck, and I can see him at the lights. Goddamn, as the shadow go across the light. He go across the 2 lights. So they said, what y'all doing out this time of night? And my boys, again, we high. These niggas said, oh man, we American Most Wanted, man. We carry guns and knives and shit. That's the exact word them niggas said. I don't know where it come from. I don't know why they said the shit, but that's what they said. So I'm steady easing back. I'm steady easing back, pedaling, trying to tell these niggas, man, come on, bro, let's go. So goddamn, that motherfucker, goddamn Michael McCann snatched that motherfucker and goddamn Paul. He said, I bet you ain't got none tonight. So my boys, both of these niggas standing there with their hands with one hand behind their back, like they got, he said, I think one of them said, somebody said, you want a bet? And get what, y'all, we got some motherfucking moon pies. And probably a nick bag of weed and some motherfucking top paper. That's all we got. So goddamn, that motherfucker, next thing you know, that motherfucker TJ Kitchen, that motherfucker throw that bottle. When I seen him throw that bottle, my back pedal I start backpedaling like Dio. And that motherfucker swung and hit my boy D Nasty across the goddamn face with that cast. Boom! D Nasty goddamn fell like a log. Boom! Then that somebody came at me, hit me in my motherfucking shit. Him and Tito and Michael McCant got into it. They over there fighting. And when that nigga hit me in my lip, nigga, I turned and burned. I wasn't standing there. So the other 15 of them motherfuckers come jumping off the goddamn truck. Shit, it ain't but 3 14-year-old goddamn black boys. All of us together probably only weigh 200 pounds. And you think I'm finna goddamn try to shit our whole ass. I'm running. And so I turned, I'm looking back. They say, hey, come back and get your friend. They over there on top of my boy D Nasty, slapping. D Nasty ain't moving. Them motherfuckers get scared. Oh shit, man, he's dead. Oh shit, now my goddamn heart drop out my goddamn stomach. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh fuck. So them motherfucker haul that, jump back on the truck, pull off. So I was furthest away. I already went across goddamn Sweet Avenue. I'm damn near about in the path. I'm damn near about to go. My lip big as goddamn I don't know what. I can feel that bit throbbing. Shit spitting blood and shit. So I'm heading back. I'm walking back. We get over there. Goddamn D Nash out there laid out. And we're like, oh fuck. I'm being teed up looking. So we walk up on them. Look. Now they done peeled out and they look. And they get up. I said, God damn, boy, it was a sigh of relief. Cause I thought it was dead. Cause that's what they said. You know what I mean? They're adrenaline rush and shit going crazy. You know what I mean? But I'm just, the thing about it is D Nash said he played dead. Motherfucker like some mistake. Said he played dead. So he played like he was knocked out. He said he was looking at him. You know what I mean? Cause he got right up when we got back up. But man, but see the thing about it is they didn't know what we were dealing with. You feel what I'm saying? They didn't know we were dealing with these type goddamn individuals. Cause these motherfuckers, they just didn't like black people, man. And it would, you know. So we got D Nasty up, but it was a scary moment because we was on a dark road. That dark road, man, and it was, I know, 15, 20 of them white boys, and we have had, and the reason I feel like they tried to lynch us because I've had so many run-ins with this family from probably, I don't know, 8, 9 years old all the way up until this point. Years back, they had jumped on one of my family good friends and, you know, knocked his eye out. You know, these people were ruthless, and the reason I'm telling this story is that sometimes coming up in a town where racial disparities are not talked about, or they want to act like they don't exist, or they want to seem like, oh, this community is not like that. And again, I'm not saying it's like Bull Connor in the 1960s in motherfucking Birmingham, Alabama, but it was there. And believe it or not, it's still there. And it was a culture shock for me, being to the many places I've been around the world or been around the country and what have you, to grow up in a town where the demographic was 50-50 and it was clear cut that one side didn't particularly like the other. And there's been strides to, you know, to bridge that gap. But it's a big gap that has to be brought together because there's a long, thick history of racism in Millersville, and it shows, you know. And again, this story is about bringing the awareness that these things actually existed, right? And a lot of times people try to pretend that it didn't happen or it doesn't exist. Even when I bring stories to light on this channel and on this platform, sometimes I get a lot of negative phone calls, negative emails, negative inboxes, because a lot of times people don't like you to talk about things that potentially hurts them. And I get that. I truly do. But my whole goal here on this platform is to share these stories and let people know that situations that you may be going through, others are too. And I share these to shed light on situations too. Maybe people can grab something from my story, grab something from what I went through. You know, some of the same things I did with my sons is that I was brutally honest with them about my life and my past. So that way we can prevent, you know, redundant mistakes. And sometimes people don't want to shine their light on their insecurities or shine their light on their flaws, and they don't want to face the horrors and the traumas of their life. But when you don't face them and you don't talk about them, you don't bring them to life, and if you don't speak on them, you give them power. There's so many people in so many different situations wish they can speak on things, but they can't. And when you have the ability, or you have the wherewithal to speak on situations that a lot of people don't want to talk about, or a lot of people want to act like never happened, want to act like that just was a fluke. It takes courage, because when you're doing things, when you're trying to shed light and you're trying to better yourself and you're trying to better people, there's a lot of people that don't want to see it. There's a lot of people want people to stay the same. There's a lot of people want you to just leave well enough alone. But if we don't know what we've been through, or we don't know our true history, it's bound to repeat itself. And I just want to shed light on situations and disparities like this, because at the end of the day, we all got to live in this world together, and we all have similar, things we go through. And if I can help one person, my job is done. And this story was to let you guys know that racial disparities exist, right? And there are many things I've been through in life and seen that I can't even question how I made it out of it. There's scenarios I'm going to continue to share here on this platform that you're going to be amazed. How did he make it out of that? There are people going to be questioning the validity of these stories. Man, it can't be that true. Ain't no way you've been through that much stuff. I wish I was lying. I wish I could tell you that this was all made up. Shit is real in a little small town of 40,000 people. And see, that's why you never know what people have been through. You never know the challenges they've had to overcome. You don't know the trauma they had in their life. And you don't know for how long. And that's why it's important for me to not give these stories power. I shut them down and not speaking on them. And I challenge you. There's some things you've been through in life. There's some things you've overcame that if people knew about it, it would be life changing in so many cases. But sometimes we're so bashful and shameful of our past and our history and our insecurities that we bottle them up and we give them power. Kind of like when the guys in prison, when they make that buck, what they call it, they make that homemade liquor. It only gains power when you bottle that shit up. You just can't make it in a bucket with an open air. You gotta bottle it up, and it becomes powerful. It becomes potent. It ferments, and it's the same thing you do with the situations and the disparities of your life that you have dealt with and overcame and probably still dealing with, and you're dealing with it because you're giving them power, because you keep bottling it up and act like it don't happen. And that what gives the racism in the city of Millersville, especially back in this time I'm speaking on. That's what gave it power, because people act like it didn't exist. And again, I think they've made some strides back home. I think they've made some strides in my hometown, but hey, still got a big gap to bridge. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Y'all make sure y'all tap in, subscribe to the channel, support the channel, share the video, and stay tuned for more. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I love you all. Be great today. Peace.